Yes, I'm in the living room today, getting ready for part three of the Evocation of Bartzabel, the spirit of Mars. And if you've been with me the last couple days, you know that this was a sort of a homemade ritual that Crowley performed, celebrated, worked at the living room friend, or the friend Commander Marston, his living room with Layla Waddell, Victor Newberg, and Commander Marston. Okay, so, it was sort of an innovation, a customization of the classic Solomonic formula of evocation, the evocation of a spirit of Mars. Why they chose Bartzabel in particular probably had something to do with military duties of Commander Marston and his concerns. And what made it innovative and what made it sort of unique and interesting to magicians, even just from a scholarly point of view, is that instead of putting incense smoke in the triangle of evocation for the spirit to manifest on its sigil, manifest in the incense smoke, the smoke sort of gives it a body, if you will, sort of a poor man's ectoplasm. Instead of doing that, they put Victor Newberg himself as a volunteer to sit in the triangle and voluntarily, for the duration of the ceremony, open himself up to literally possession by the spirit so that they could address the body of Victor, the vocal cords of Victor directly. Now, that may sound like a Hollywood folly. Don't go in that triangle. And but it was wild and crazy for Crowley's day. And truly, if you're not a superstitious magician, you would enter on a project like that in sort of the spirit of scientific curiosity and experimentation and such. So I don't get too excited about this. Isn't a Gregory Peck movie. It's Crowley with his artist friends in the living room of a commander in the Royal Navy. Be that as it may, we've got to the point of where they've purified and consecrated the temple in sort of classic Golden Dawn style. But Crowley this is 1910, is starting to drag in thelemic aspects, thelemic elements, thelemic deities into the operation. Now, if you've been with me for the last 2 days, you already realize that this is very, very, very wordy. Okay. And in those days, Western ceremonial magic depended heavily on the alterations of consciousness that are brought about by lyrical poetry, verses, music, etc. And Crowley was just starting now to experiment with this idea of changing the consciousness of a group of people, eventually an entire theater audience, through the enchantment, if you will, of poetry and music. And so what seems to us as grinding, lengthy uh, uh, poems and things like that. Do I have to memorize all of that stuff? No, but keep in mind that this is how people elevated their consciousness. Now the gardener has just arrived after destroying our side yard clover plantings last week. I hope Constance is hearing this so he doesn't do something stupid like that. Oh, I'm digressing. If you can hear me over the lawnmower out there, I'm going to now pick up where we left off. Victor's in the triangle. The temple is all cleaned and consecrated and ready to go. And now part 3 is the particular invocations of the forces of Mars. Okay. Crowley knocks 5 times like this. 1, 5 for Mars. He first performs the invoking ritual of Mars. And what is that? Okay, he draws a little Star of David. So he's telling us in this note that he used the invoking ritual of the hexagram. Now the point on a hexagram that represents Mars is the upper right hand portion of the descending triangle. Okay, so that's the way you draw the triangles after the opening and the analyzation of INRI and all of that stuff. The adepts, that's Marston and Layla Waddell, and of course him, Victor's in the triangle, stand at the points of the Tau cross. So in other words, this is the temple that they're standing on. Now, the points of the Tau cross are there. So Marston is probably there, and Layla was probably there, and Crowley was probably right up here facing Victor. And here comes one of those lengthy things. Oh, gee, just parks his lawn, just lets it run right under me. If you'll excuse me. Poor guy. I bet the landlord doesn't pay him any money. Well, anyway. Here's how Crowley starts off. Even as of old there came 3 magi, or magi, from the ends of the earth to adore the fivefold star. So come we, O Lord, armed for the holy work of an evocation of Bartzabel, the spirit of Mars. That is obedient unto the intelligence Graphael. Here comes the pecking order. Chosen from the seraphim who follow Kamael, the great archangel that serveth the God under his name, Elohim Gibor, a spark from thine intolerable light, Rahur Kuit. Now, I got to stop right here and suggest that if you are a magician embarking upon the planetary magic of evoking the spirits of particular planets or anything of that nature, which is sort of characterized in traditional literature as the greater key of Solomon, that you use this as a form. Because now I've showed you before on other little shows here, I've showed you sort of a flow chart, a corporate flow chart of just generally 7 divine names of God. Okay, they're aspects, facets of God. And under each, and those are going to be broken down and filtered to eventually be the spirits of the planets. Okay? Seven sets of, it's like the pecking order of an army. Okay, there's the president of the country at the top. Okay, and that president has uh, uh, 7 main duties that he does. And so he's got a general at the top. He's got, as a matter of fact, for each of those 7 duties that God has, so those are the divine names, 7 divine names. They're all of God, okay? It's not 7 gods, it's 7 aspects. Elohim Gibor is the one that's at the top of the evocation for Mars. And then there's the general, and then there's the chain of command. And I'm not sure what it is because I'm not a military man, but that'd be the general, and then the colonels and the lieutenants and the sergeants, and finally the private would be like Bartzabel. Okay. You can't get Bartzabel to work until he gets permission from his sergeant, and the sergeant does got to get his orders from the lieutenant, and the lieutenant's got to get his orders from the colonel, and the colonel's got to get his orders from the general. Okay, and it's always been, well, how do I get all of these guys? If I'm going to write a ritual of my own, say I want to whip up Bartzabel. What's the pecking order? You look up the pecking order in all the charts and everything, and you see what the pecking order is. But how do you address them? What do you say? Who do you start with? How do you... Crowley, in one paragraph, wraps up the whole ball of wax from Elohim Gibor, God at the top, all the way down to the private first class Bartzabel. And then he's got 3 people in the room with him, besides Victor in the triangle. And he evokes the image and the magic and the mysticism of the 3 wise men following the star to the birth of Christ. He evokes that magical image by saying, even as of old there came 3 magi from the ends of the earth to adore the 5-fold star. So come we, O Lord, armed for the holy work of an evocation of Bartzabel, spirit of Mars, that is obedient to the intelligence, Graphael, and you say Graphael, chosen from the seraphim who know Kamael, the great archangel. That's going up the tree, going up the chain of command. Who that serveth God under his name, Elohim Gibor, a spark from thine intolerable light. And then he puts the singularity itself, recognizes that as Rahur Kuit. It's so clean, it squeaks. Just take this and plug in the names of your choice, whatever sphere you're working with. Therefore, hear thou the oath of the obligation that we assume before thee. Now, the idea of all magic is a singular solitary act. So it's complicated when you're working with other people in a ritual. So if you're obliged to use other people in a ritual, you all have to be on the same page. You all have to be, for the moment, a single magical entity. and to get everybody on board and to prevent a situation where your evocation of the forces that you are attempting to gather up and focus are only as strong as the weakest link in your temple. You ought to all get on board and bind yourself for the purpose of this one work. It's like even on a lifeboat, everybody has to recognize one person as captain. And you might say, well, what kind of do what thou wilt is that? Well, yeah. No, if it's your will to be part of this operation, then it's your will to have one captain on the boat until you're safely on shore. Okay. As I reach for metaphors. So, therefore, hear thou the oath of obligation that we assume before thee. And then Crowley points the sword downward upon the apex of the triangle of Ra-Hoor-Khuit, and the other magi place their hands upon the hilt. Okay, that's right at the very top of that Tau. And they say this together. We, Perdurabo, a neophyte of the AA, for all knowledge, a probationer of the AA, and Agatha, a probationer of the AA, swear unto thee, O Lord God, by thine own almighty power, by thy force and fire, by thy glittering hawk's eye, and thy mighty sweeping wings, that we all here in this place and now at this time do utterly devote ourselves, mind, body, and estate, at all times and in all places soever, to the establishment of thy holy kingdom. And if we fail herein, may we be burnt and consumed by the red eye of Mars. And they all returned to their stations. They all had their hands on the one sword when they took that oath. So they go back to their stations. And this is our purpose. It's fivefold. Firstly, that the kingdom of Ra-Hoor-Khuit may be established in the Aeon. That's what they're doing this for. Secondly, that we may succeed in that particular design of which it is not lawful to speak even before thee. I believe that is the particular thing that Commander Marston had in mind in his military curiosity. I may be wrong there. Thirdly, and get this, thirdly, that we may have the power to help the weak. Fourthly, that we may be filled with the courage and energy of Mars for the prosecution of the great work. And lastly, that we may obtain the service of Bartzabel, that he may be obedient unto us thy servants, that between him and us there may be peace, and that he may always be ready to come whensoever he is invoked and called forth. Now, because in such a work it is not possible for us to do anything at all by ourselves, we have humbly recourse to thine almighty power, beseeching upon our knees thy favor and thine aid. So they all three kneel down at the three sides of the altar, all clasping spear in the proper manner. Spear. Okay, there's one spear. It's not three spears, okay? It was the one spear that was upon the altar. We talked about all the things that were on the altar. with kneeling there with their hands on the spear, they say, I adore thee in the song. I am the Lord of Thebes, and I the inspired forth speaker of Mentu. For me unveils the veiled sky, the self-slain Ankof Nakansu, whose words are truth. I invoke, I greet thy presence, O Rahur Kuit. Unity uttermost showed, I adore the might of thy breath. Supreme and terrible God, who makest the gods and death to tremble before thee, I adore thee. Appear on the throne of Ra. Open the ways of the Ku. Lighten the ways of the Ka. The ways of the Kabs runs through to stir me or still me. Aum, let it fill me. That's what it says here. Then they all say, they chant this repeatedly until they get stoned. Akadua tu forbiu biachafu dudu nera fanutaru akadua tu forbiu biachafu dudu nera fanutaru aka. Okay, etc. Excuse me, I got a little stoned there myself. When the chief magus is satisfied with the descent of the god, literally, are we stoned yet? Let all rise and let Crowley say, so that thy light is in me and its red flame is as a sword in my hand to push thy order. There is a secret door that I shall make to establish thy way in all the quarters, as it is said. Now this is all off the Stele of Revealing. The light is mine, its rays consume me. I have made a secret door into the house of Ra and tomb of Kefra Nahathur. I am thy Theban, O Mentu, the prophet Ankof Nakansu. By best Namat, my breast I beat, by wise Tanich I weave my spell. Show thy star splendor, O Nuit. Bid me within thine house to dwell. O winged snake of light Hadit, abide with me, Rahur Kuit. Now, Crowley faces the triangle, and the others kind of scoot up and support him. Hail, 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 hail. Hail. Send forth a spark of thine illimitable light and force, we beseech thee, that it may appear in the heaven of Mars as the god Elohim Gibor. O winged glory of gold, O plumes of justice and stern brows of majesty, O warrior armed with spear and shield, O virgin strength and splendor of spring, that ridest the chariot of iron upon the storm upon the sea, who shooteth forth the arrows of the moon, who yieldest the four magical weapons, who art the master of the pentagram and of the blazing fury of the sun. Come unto me, O great God Elohim Gibor. Isn't that an awesome invocation? And send thine angel Kamael, even Kamael, the mighty, the leader of armies, the fiery serpents, the seraphim, that he may answer my behests. O purple flame that is like unto the whirling wheel of life, O strong shoulders and virginal breasts and dancing limbs, come, Mael, come, Mael, come, Mael. I see thee before me, O thou great archangel. Art thou not the leaders of the armies of the Lord, of the fiery snakes upon whose heads are triple crowns of spiritual light, and whose tongues are triply forked with judgment, whose bodies are like the sun in his strength, whose scales are of the adamant of Vulcan, who are slim and splendid and virginal as they rush flaming over the lashed sea? Come unto me, Camael, thou archangel almighty, and send to me Graphael, that great intelligence of thine, that he may answer my behest. O moon, that sailest over the shoulders of the sun, whose warrior body is like white-hot steel, whose virgin limbs and golden wings move like ripe corn at the caress of the thunderstorm. O thou that wieldest the swords and balances of power, Graphael, 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 Graphael. Come unto me, thou bright intelligence of Mars, and answer my behest. In the name of Camael, thy Lord, I say, compel the spirit Bartzabel that is under thy dominion to manifest within this triangle of art, within the ruach of the material base that is consecrated to this work, within this pure and beautiful human form that is prepared for his habitation. And now I see thee, O thou dull and deceitful head, that I shall fill with wit and truth, thy proud heart that I shall humble and make pure, thy cold body that I shall fashion into a living flame of amethyst, thou sexless being of whom I shall make the perfect child of Hermes and Aphrodite, that is God. O thou dull ox, that I shall turn into the bull of earth, thou house of idleness, wherein I shall set up the throne of justice. Bartzabel, 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 Bartzabel. Come forth and manifest beyond the bars, forth from the palace of the Sephardic stars. Come, O thou Bartzabel, the sprite of Mars. Come, unbind thee from the chains of hell. Come, I unloose thee in the invisible to be my slave, thou spirit Bartzabel. By the spear, the sword, the spell, come unto me, Bartzabel. By the word that openeth hell, come to me, Bartzabel. By the power, O the panther's pell, come to me, Bartzabel. By circling citadel, come unto me, Bartzabel. By this mind of miracle, come unto me, Bartzabel. By Rahur Kuit, by Elohim Gibor, by Camael the Seraphim, by Hur, Kem, and Mentu, by all the gods of war, Ares and Mars and Hachiman and Thor, and by the master Graphael, come unto me, Bartzabel. And if he not come, let the chief magus and his assistants humble themselves mightily and repeat these holy invocations, even unto thrice. And if he still be obdurant and disobedient unto the words of power, the chief magus shall assume the dignity of Chem, and conjure him and curse him as his own ingenuum shall direct. Yet, if the rites have been duly performed, he will assuredly have manifested before this. And that's where we will leave it for today. Tomorrow we'll pick up part 4, the dealings with Bartzabel. As my friend Abdullah down at work would say, what can I say? Anyway, tomorrow, I hope you're still there. Don't do anything rash between now and tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow. Until then, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.